everyone, and welcome back to the Good Morning Marketers podcast. My name's Aisha, and I'm joined with Madison.
Hiya.
So today we're going to be talking about some trends, micro trends, spring 2023, because there's a lot to sort of talk about. So I didn't want to make it just 1 month at a time. But yeah, we've kind of got a list that we're going to go through and we're going to say our thoughts about. So why don't we start with your favourite?
So I've seen some amazing stuff recently, all over LinkedIn and Instagram, B2B content, B2C content. But one brand that's kind of stood out to me that I feel like it's kind of been popular for a while, but I've just seen it everywhere at the moment is AU Vodka. They've just done a pop-up shop and they had a gold Vespa in there and a flower wall at the back. I think some of them were real flowers, and obviously they got the products in there. And I thought just for such a small space, just a pop-up shop, they were so creative about it. And they were clever enough to go and then post about it on LinkedIn. It's very kind of Instagram kind of aesthetic, but they also appreciate that there's people who follow their content and want to see what they've been up to and how they're marketing on LinkedIn as well.
Yeah.
And I just think their content covers all bases, really. There was also something they did recently, which is a collaboration with Opoly. And again, these really beautiful photographs, and they go to all these great locations. And I think they've really varied their content.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, the types of people, the types of audiences, it is so varied, because I think we can say that it's still quite young, but I mean, they sponsored Jake Paul to have a tattoo on him and it wasn't a small one, mind
No,
you.
it wasn't.
It was a huge AU vodka.
Yeah.
So every time he, wears a sleeveless top,
Which is most of the time.
He's literally promoting the brand.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really...
No. You can't get more permanent than that, really, can you?
And then also, I mean, sponsored that, they're doing things with Opoly, but then they're sponsoring people like GK Barry, who's a really funny TikToker, but quite brash. So there's such a difference, and they're sort of hitting all corners of that sort of market. Yeah, they're really, really cool.
Yeah.
And that Opoly thing, that was at Coachella, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was at Coachella, which is always huge. They've always got great sponsors there, partners and brands. And I think at the moment, I think Coachella is still very much alive. There's always going to be that kind of party scene, and the people are going to be there.
It is a bit weird though, because it's it's kind of, I mean, people literally call it the influencer Olympics.
Yeah.
And it literally is. And I think I can't imagine how much brands spend.
Oh yeah, it must be crazy.
And villas, the accommodation, their pop-up things. I mean, even just the tickets for all of those people alone but
exactly.
They obviously direct a lot of their budget there, and it seems to have huge returns. But it's interesting to see, isn't it?
Yeah, it's they almost do their marketing in a way that's they market the tickets, right? It's you even see a ticket and they're designed up, and it's someone's actually gone in graphically designed a ticket to invite people, the VIPs, the influencers, and they spend so much on what they're wearing. Think about what the brands have to do to stand out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How creative they have to be to stand out.
I think as well, if you think about some of these huge influencers, they're probably getting, asked from multiple brands. So they all these brands are sort of competing to get this one influencer on their on their trip, at their villa, at their accommodation. So yeah, there were so many cool brands at Coachella. I mean, there are every year, but
it's almost branding yourself, or an influencer branding themselves to align with a brand, with a brand that's actually their favorite or something they really enjoy.
Yeah.
So
well, you can definitely see the ones that maybe were more swayed by the money. But who can blame them?
The ones getting tattoos.
It's
funny. But yeah, I think they've done such a good job. They post on TikTok. I've seen other people who talk about them on TikTok, that aren't even paid partners at that point. People who just love their brand, love all the different flavors and the look of it. And people kind of creating content without even necessarily being a partnership. And then maybe they get the partnership later down the line. But it shows that you've obviously got a good product. You've got great marketing. You've put yourself out there digitally and physically enough that people are already talking about you.
Yeah, that's interesting. That kind of goes on to something that I think has been a trend for a little while now, but it's only getting bigger. It's only increasing as the UGC.
Yeah.
It's absolutely huge. And I feel when I'm just scrolling through my For You page,
it's most of what you see.
It's so much. And obviously I'm interested in marketing, so it does make sense. But there's so much on there, either people making tutorials, guides, or actually just the UGC, which is interesting as well, because people who maybe aren't creators or like, you know, influencers, popular creators, they don't really have a following. They're making that content. And then the brands are sort of just purchasing it or, you know, and then using it for ads. But I do quite like it because it's got a realism to it because it's like an everyday person using the product, and then you kind of feel like you trust it sort of in a way, even though it's an ad, because you're like, well, I know this isn't an influencer or a huge influencer as such. So yeah, that's really interesting to see. And people are getting paid a good amount for it as well. I think it's good if you're you're interested in content creation and you're looking to make some money on the side, or, you know, because sometimes that's people's whole job. Yeah. Which is crazy as well. I've seen it a lot with obviously beauty products, but also like Airbnb. Yeah, so I've seen that. Yeah, that's also really, really cool. And I love that it's sort of opened up all these different job opportunities. Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, the quality of the content that you get from people is, you know, some of it's, you know, it's just varied, and it kind of feeds into the fact that some brands are almost like a lifestyle brand, because you see people out and about using their product. You see, you know, them using it like in reality, like on their commute, like that, all going on these trips like on like a weekend with like their partner or with their friends, and it just feels a little bit more real, you know. I think at the end of the day, we all see so much advertising every single day. To stand out, you've got to be unique, and I think there are so many ways to do that, but I think you kind of have to have that as your mindset. Yeah. Well, talking about uniqueness, I don't know if that's a word. Yeah. One thing that, I mean, our marketing campaign of the month for April was that Jacquemus 3D rendering. And at first, I didn't actually realise it was 3D rendered. I had no idea. It was real. I actually thought that they had like a minibus or, you know, some sort of vehicle, and they just sort of put like a cover on it. I thought it was like a cover, or they just like, they built it out. But no, that was completely 3D rendered. That's crazy, because I literally wouldn't have known until you told me. I had no idea. That's becoming a real thing. Like satisfying content, weird, outlandish content, things that are really gonna stop the scroll, things like that. Because I think I only realised when I was looking at the campaign on the Jacquemus page, and then I went to the comments, and one comment stood out to me, and it was by the guy that did it. So I clicked on his profile, and his whole thing is creating those. So he did it for a French chocolate brand. So it was this video in France, in Paris, and there were literally humongous like chocolate bears like on amazing. The buildings. And he's also done it with I think it was Big Ben. He like made it like almost like curved. Oh, I feel like I might have seen that. So that's such a big, especially like fashion brands are really doing that. Because I feel like it's hard to explain, but it's like physical marketing and digital marketing at the same time, because you think it's out in the real world, and then you're like, no, this is something that someone's designed. Like, this is something that's a 3D designer has come up with. But the quality is and it kind of goes into conversation about AI and things like that. But the quality, you do think it's real, and I suppose that's why immediately you stop. You're interested. It piques your interest when you're on TikTok or whatever platform you're seeing it on. What is that? I mean, no one sees that every day, do you? Like a giant handbag in a neon orange and going down the street. Did one where I suppose they got a speedboat to go through a body of water, and then they literally edited the bag. I think it was the same guy that did it. I don't know if you've seen that, but I mean by that point I knew that these weren't real, but I still was like, oh, this is like weird. It's so interesting because you can do it with anything now. So a lot of fashion brands are doing that. But Jacquemus are so good with that. Well, I suppose it's not really an out-of-home campaign, is it? No, it's kind of just kind of is, but it kind of isn't. Yeah. But some of their stuff actually is real, you know, physical. Yeah. Pinch yourself like it's real. You go and buy a handbag, you pick it up, you're like, oh no, it's a 3D design the whole time. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, this was a while ago now, but it was in Paris, and it was sort of like a vending machine, but with the bags. Yeah, I think I did see that. Yeah, the vending machines like again are like a massive thing as well. Like, people have run ads to be like, go and visit like our vending machines, which with the chance to win X. Yeah. Like, in a way, it's funny because I feel like vending machines are like not like, I don't know, they feel kind of like 90s. I don't know to me. Like, we used to get like the little toys in there and stuff like that. Can't say I remember that. Yeah, sorry, showing my age, guys. But yeah, I think it's
kind of cool and unique. And I think part of that is like in Japan they've got all those like really cool vending machines. I feel like they're always just ahead of the game with like some of their
Japan
ideas.
I need to go there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I agree. I feel like I'm seeing more of it, and more of it is just like outlandish stuff that's like crazy, because I suppose it kind of has to stop you in the middle of the street. You kind of have to think, oh yeah, I want to go over there. But I love everything that's coming forward. I love Jacques Mousse. I love their marketing. So that's probably one of my favourites that I've seen recently. But also, what was your favourite April Fool's campaign? Did you see any you liked?
I did. You know what? This one is like a little bit outdated, but I remember it because it was so like funny at the time. This one wasn't from this year. This was from a little while ago. But there was a makeup brand, and they did like all neutrals. Like all of their makeup was like, oh, it's so natural. And they released on April Fool's Day, they released a palette of like bright blues and greens and like these really bright colours. And everyone was like, no, but we actually want this. People in the comments were like, we actually want this. And they were really confused because they were like, oh, this is supposed to be like a joke. And like, people were loving it. And they were like, you should actually release this because we love your eyeshadows. Like, make these really bright, like crazy colours. And then it took them like 3 years to get it to production. I was like, imagine if they'd like hopped on that hype that they kind of like accidentally created, you know. And it's almost like they've marketed something as a joke, but then it's kind of come back up to bite them.
It was so strange. It out a little bit.
Yeah.
That is cool.
So it was funny to see, because then when they tried to then make it and like remarket it, they did it differently to the original concept, and then people were like a bit disappointed. And it was interesting the way they could have really marketed that and made that probably like a huge part of their brand, was that they were trying something different.
Well, I suppose it comes back to sort of like listen to your audience, because I suppose if they really nailed that could have been perfect.
Yeah. It would have been really cool. Yeah, it's funny.
I'd say, I'm trying to think of my favourite, because I did see a few that I liked. I think I'll probably be a bit basic and say everyone else's favourite. The Duolingo one, did you see that?
I think I did. Okay. I feel like I'm out of the loop. Explain it to me.
For anyone that doesn't know about the Duolingo April Fool's 2023, basically, you know, Too Hot to Handle?
Yeah.
It was like that, and they got one of the people that was on that show, but it was basically, the premise was that none of them spoke the same language. And they marketed it as if it was a real show. Like, it looked real. I was
genius.
Almost convinced.
So I haven't seen that. That sounds funny.
I'll show you in a minute.
Yeah.
It was so good.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, that was probably my favourite.
Ironically, Duolingo, great with their marketing. So funny. Crazy on Twitter.
No, and I saw something last year. It was something they did last year. It was basically, you know how people will go on holiday or go into that gap year or something, and they'll get a crazy tattoo and it's in a different language, so they don't know the meaning.
Oh, yeah, wasn't it?
It was essentially that, and Duolingo is going to tell you what it means. But for the campaign, they sort of put all this like crazy, funny stuff on there, and I thought that was hilarious. But they are really good, like social media wise, and then like actual like big campaigns. They always sort of just like hit the nail on the head.
Yeah. Their team's very creative. I love it.
Yeah, every time I see something from them, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna still watch. I don't know what's happening yet, but I'm watching because I know it's gonna be good. But yeah,
it's funny. But it gets people going back to them, doesn't it? And it's like, you know, for a service that has like some free elements and some paid elements, you need to keep people coming back to you. You need to keep people interested. And, you know, at the end of the day, that it's software, isn't it? You know, it's an app. And I think to keep people coming back to it, it's not just a case of, you know, downloading it once, using it a few times, which I might have done. You know, but again, it's about recapturing interest. It's about keeping people interested. Because I think with that kind of thing, it's something that people do use, then they kind of put it down for a bit. You need to like capture those people back in. It's like, you know, remember us, like keep us at the forefront of your mind kind of thing. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you know, if they want to, you know, succeed as a brand, if they want to make money, they've got to keep people on that app and keep them thinking about, you know, getting like paid versions and, you know, learning new languages. But, you know, that's a really clever way to do it, by kind of communicating with people on like Twitter and like keeping them at the forefront of their mind. Yeah,
like sometimes they'll go on their comments and you can really there's a real sense of community. There's also the new people that are seeing the viral content. You can see the community that they've nurtured. Yeah, they're great. They're a brand that like I always watch. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah,
they've done some cool stuff on TikTok as well.
They just hop on TikTok.
Whoever's running the TikTok for Duolingo, you're killing it.
You're doing a cracking job.
They're doing the trends as they come out. It's impressive. I don't know how they manage it, but like so everything. Yeah, literally everything.
And then they have the person in the huge Duolingo suit as well.
Just slightly terrifying.
No, it's a bit scary. Yeah. And then that whole thing with the Dua Lipa Duolingo. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I did.
Classic. But Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay. Well, I think that's everything that we sort of wanted to talk about today. So I think we'll wrap it up there. But if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to, if you're watching, like and subscribe. And if you're listening, follow and give it a 5-star review. Yeah. Catch you next time.